Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds. Oh, excuse me. Welcome to Ask the Cheeseman, and this is where you can learn about cheese making at home. This is episode 115. Hopefully you can hear me and all that. Welcome to my new revamped studio. As you can see there, we've got a new bureau and we've hung some stuff up and we've got a new lamp and all that sort of stuff. Not that you can see the lamp, but kind of. I'll get out of the way. There we go. New lamps, very bright. But anyway, all looking good and ready for some cheesy conversation. Now, if you catch me looking down, there's an error with the software that I use. It doesn't. I'm trying to put the preview up the top, but I'm having to force myself to look at the camera. Normally, it's up near the camera, the preview. So anyway, excuse me if I don't look you in the eyes like I normally do. Anyway, we've got lots of people on the chat this morning. We've got the, I think in Arabic, that's the Six Kitchen or something like that, saying hello. George, g'day, mate. How are you? Aga, g'day, mate. Looks like he's doing something with tofu-style vegan cheeses. I don't think I'll venture that far into the world of veganism there, Aga. But anyway, well done you. Put a video up if you think it's worthy, and I'll link it in the community tab. Patrick says, g'day Patrick, and somebody says they want to be my dad. No. Will you be my dad? Yeah, sure. I'll be the grandpa of cheese for everybody. How's that sound? Lifestyle, g'day mate. Kevin, g'day. Wilma Charlie, g'day. Patricia, how are you? Larry, Deep South Texas. Great to see you again, as always. And who else we got there? John, g'day, John. How are you? Stuart, g'day, Stuart. And Bruce, g'day, Bruce. How are you? Looks like we've got 40 people watching, which is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Now, no new patrons or YouTube members today, but I can see quite a few patrons and YouTube members on the chat today. Absolutely fantastic. I do appreciate that you support the show financially, so Kim and I can put this on twice weekly when there's not pressing things. Now, the reason we didn't have a session on Saturday was because we had to rush out to the furniture shop. It was the only time we can go get it and get the the sideboard thing there. With, as you can see, new. You can't see it in all its entirety, but it looks pretty flash. Kim's made my man cave look very cheesy and a nice set and backdrop for the show, so that's pretty cool. Okay, we've got first question is from Patricia. Oh, before we do the questions, God, I'm all over the place today, aren't I? So videos coming up. So this week's video will be an experimentation using a milk available here in Australia called Made by Cow. It's a raw milk cold pressed, and that's how they're getting away with not having to pasteurize the milk. Now, obviously, before you watch the video, because you guys are my number one fans, I'll let the cat out of the bag. The milk was exceptional, so it actually worked like raw milk. So to set a curd, it was just amazing. I didn't even use calcium chloride. And the milk performed amazingly. It really did. I've never seen a curd set like it, except when I was using raw cow's milk that somebody bought, a friend bought for me from Tasmania. So it was amazing. Really, really good milk. Anyway, enough on that, but you'll see the video this weekend where I explain the ins and outs and I hope I can find some footage of how they actually make the milk, at least some photographs, so you can understand what it's all about. So fruit juice has been treated in this way quite a bit. So it's They put it under a lot of pressure, high pressure, and apparently it kills the bacteria. There's a formal name for the process, but I haven't got it at hand. But they're calling it on the bottle cold-pressed milk, raw milk. So, yeah, it works very well. Now, I don't know if it's spread to other countries yet, but I think it's a first here for Australia, that's for sure. And the milk is not cheap at all. It's very expensive. So, anyway. Anyway, so that's one of the videos. The other one I made was a grana padano using my own recipe. I just cobbled it together. It worked in the manner that the grain size got down really small, which was good. It managed to hold itself together once I pressed it. The only trouble is after I brined it during the air drying, it started to crack and get a little bit of fissures in the rind, so that was a bit of an issue. But with a bit of quick thinking and some vac packing, I managed to save that, and we're going to mature that out for 9 months and see how that goes. But that'll be in a couple of weeks' time. Plus, interspersed in there will be some taste tests. I've got to get my act together. I've got the front room all set up for the taste tests, the lights and cameras, so we'll get pumped through a few of those during the week and on the weekend. And get those interspersed with the cheese videos. Anyway, all right, so that's all I've got as far as housekeeping goes. So we'll get on to Patricia's question, which is the first one of the day. It says, does the whey keep longer than the milk it comes from? I throw it out after the milk's expiry date, but New England cheesemaking says it keeps well. Thoughts? Well, it's got a lot of less of the it's got a whey protein in it, but it hasn't got the milk protein in it, Patricia. So it does last a bit longer. I've actually got 2-3 litres of whey sitting in the fridge at the moment for me to add to stews and smoothies and stuff like that. If you leave it at room temperature, it tends to acidify fairly quickly and get more acidic because the lactic bacteria is still in the whey, obviously, and it acidifies. That's why they say when you make ricotta with it, use it within 3 hours or something like that, because you won't get the proteins out and you won't get the goodness out for ricotta. However, we've been using it in casseroles and stews. I've been feeding it to plants and stuff like that. So I'm doing a little video around 10 ways with whey. So watch for that coming out soon. That'll be, I don't know when it'll be coming out, but I'm in the process of making it at the moment with some other footage that I've got. And yeah, it should be fairly interesting. So I've kept the whey from one of the cheeses. I think it was the stir curd cheddar I made with milk by cow. So it's as authentic as whey can get, I suppose. But yeah, it does keep a little bit longer. I probably only keep it for about a week after its expiry date. You can freeze it. There's no issues. Unlike milk that kind of degrades over time with freezing, but whey does not. So you should be fine. Anyway, so the next question. Where are we? John says best use for unused whey is to dry it out into a powder and put it into other products. All that enzymatic activity turns sour and ruined. Yeah, it does if you leave it too long. I agree with you, John. And g'day to Stuart, who's popped in there, and Patrick. Patrick says, been making butter lately, following the vid you showed. Gonna order some culture to make it as well. Question is, how long does the buttermilk last? So the buttermilk that comes out of the butter, obviously, I don't know, a couple of weeks, I would expect. You can use it for buttermilk pancakes and all that sort of stuff. It's very nice. It's not like the cultured buttermilk that you can buy in the shops. Totally different stuff. Don't know why they call that one buttermilk, but yeah. So real buttermilk is the liquid that seeps out of the butter when you make it. So Jay Nooses says, what's your favourite cheese to make? Well, I think they've all got their they've all got their little nuances, the different styles. But I don't know. I think I might like the cheddar styles best because they're easier. Easier as in the making part is not very complicated. You don't have to muck around with curd size and stuff like that. Whatever I cut it with my curd harp seems to be good enough. And probably one of my favourite cheeses to make, the easiest ones to make, are the stirred curd cheddars. And they taste fantastic. Since I swapped over from Sacco MO30 to Danisco Choose It, what is it, MA 4001 starter culture, I found the flavour is really enhanced with those stirred curd cheddars. It really does make a nice cheese. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, all the cheeses are my favourite cheeses to make. The more complicated it is, the more I kind of enjoy it. If it has too much technical work with the affinage or the maturation, I don't really enjoy that. I like to backpack the cheeses, go in the cheese cave, turn them once. If they're bloomy rinds or something like that, yeah, I'll spend a bit of time. You don't have to muck around with them for about 4 weeks or up to 3 months for a blue, and there's no real issue. But it's the ones that take, a year of washing every second day. It's just, sorry, I'm not a commercial cheesemaker. I don't have staff to go and do that for me. So unfortunately, as a home cheesemaker, I like the simpler ones. So that's cool. Okay. Craig, g'day, mate. How are you? John says, check out YouTube's America's Test Kitchen for cultured butter. Okay, I'm going to have a look at that. That'll be cool. Edward says, hello. I recently started to watch your videos with my wife. We will start to make some cheese soon, or we hope. Regards from Venezuela. Well, lovely to see you on board, Edward, and the startings of being a curd nerd. Very exciting. Okay, Kevin has said, to all those that have seen ultra filtered milk, do not use it as it's another name for UHT. Yeah, I haven't seen that name before. In Europe, there's a new thing that they've been using. I don't know how new it is. It's called micro-filtered milk. I'm not sure what they do. There was a guy that used to be on the channel, or certainly on the podcast. He used to send me messages all the time. Called what was his name? Jean-Michel was his name, and he come from Nice in France, and he said that he use a lot of the commercial milks are now micro-filtered. And he started using them, and to good effect. So I think it's different than ultra filtered milk. I think it's different. Kevin says high pressure pasteurization is pretty neat, and you get really near to the point how it works. And John says, so with this cold pressed milk, does it taste like pasteurized blah or like the terroir of raw milk? It does. I tasted it. Had half a cup of it before I made cheese into it, and it tasted like I remember raw milk tasted like. So yeah, the flavour is right up there with raw milk. It's very, very good. But for $6 for a 1.5 litres, 1.5 litres, the price is extortionate. But I suppose they've got to recoup their costs for the manufacturing process somehow, I suppose. Anyway, George says, question, I understand adding water tends to increase the pH. Yeah, take it closer back to neutral. That's correct. Are there other alternatives to reduce the pH of cheese? Maybe something to encourage ammonia development would do the trick. Yeah, so Geotrichum candidum is technically, it's a mold / yeast. What it does, it actually it increases the pH back towards 7. So it's about 6.5. It takes the surface of the cheese. Now, some cheeses don't like the rind very acidic. So things like washed rind cheeses, so the red smear ones, you will find that they work a lot better if you add just a smidgen, I think 1/64 of a teaspoon of geotrichum as well as brevibacterial linens. It prepares the surface, makes it more acceptable for the red mold to grow. So that is a way of increasing the pH of the cheese. Now you mentioned, are there any other alternatives to reduce the pH? Reduce or increase? We're talking about reducing the pH. Citric acid does it every time if you really want to, but that's only for, things like quick mozzarella, that sort of stuff, to get it to stretchy stage. But increasing the pH or stopping the pH from developing any further with a washed curd cheese works well. John says, Kim says to eat all those bacterial linens and blue cheeses in the cave and put in more Goudas. I don't think she did, John, but she does like Gouda. It's very nice. Jay says, okay, so what would be the best way to make your first cheese on a small budget, and what ingredients would you need? Okay. Kim, if you can whack up, I don't know if you already have, put a link up. No, not yet. Where? I've missed it. Where the heck did the question go? Oh, there it is. Kim, if you can put up the beginner's cheese video, the ones you need without a cheese fridge, and that'll set Jay on his way. No pun intended. Leonardo, g'day Leonardo. Hi everyone, love your videos. Had the opportunity to get of getting raw milk almost directly from the cow. Nice picture. Do I have to make some processes, or can I go directly into cheese making? No, you can use the raw milk. There's no issues with that at all. Just make sure that you trust the source of the raw milk, and that you're happy with the quality of coming out of the dairy. Make cheese from raw milk. You get all the lactic bacteria that's natively within the milk. It doesn't get killed off by pasteurization. There are some strict processes for commercial producers to make raw milk cheese, especially here in Australia. There's just crazy regulations. Not so much in France, but they do check the factories and stuff like that, which is good. You don't have to do anything. What you do need to omit in most recipes, you'll see, especially when I use commercially bought milk, is add calcium chloride to get a better curd set. With raw milk, you don't need to add calcium chloride, especially cow's milk. Goat's milk, I would still, even using raw goat's milk, I would add a little bit of calcium chloride to help it set. It's notorious for a sloppy curd set, goat's milk is. Anyway, moving right along. I'm like 10 minutes behind on the comments, but that's okay. That's normal for this show. Aga says, Google HPP, high pressure processing. It seems it came out around 1899 but wasn't popular. Oh, okay, so it seems very popular now, Aga, here, especially here in Australia anyway. And they've got a process to do it with milk. And they do it in the bottle, apparently. They put the raw milk in the bottle and then do the cold pressure thing on the bottle itself. So just a normal, regular milk bottle, high-density polyethylene, plastic number 2. I tell you what, but they have the normal plastic cap, and then they have this foil lining, to seal it off. And I tell you what, to get that off is such a pain. I had to use a sharp knife and just puncture each top. It just... to rip the little plastic thing up. They have it sealed in there pretty well, that's for sure. Kevin says, no, it isn't UHT. Ultra filter means what it says. Oh, okay. Aga says, hyperbaric, probably. Yeah, I think that's probably right. Patricia says, saw your question last week about the aging box for the little bear. In Canada, I found Uncle Buck's batter box. Brace Pro Shop has a high rack inside, available online or in the shop. Oh, that's great to know. Thanks, Patricia, for sharing that. Gladys says, what's the difference between animal and vegetable rennet? Besides stating the blooming obvious that vegetable rennet comes from vegetables and animal rennet comes from animals, animal rennet comes from the fourth stomach of a ruminant, typically a calf, kid, or lamb is what they mainly use. And the lining of that fourth stomach is full of two enzymes called pepsin and chymosin. And it's the chymosin that cheesemakers prefer because pepsin tends to bitter cheese, but chymosin works the best. And what they've done, they've managed to use a couple of processes. There's a microbial rennet, which they use a fungus to replicate chymosin, and they can do that. And there's another way called fermentation process chymosin, which is a non-GMO process where they use part of the animal's stomach, but by the time they finish, there's no animal product within the stuff. So they technically can label it as a vegetarian rennet. Now, the differences in taste, minimal, really. Animal rennets are typically used in high temperature cheeses like the Parmesan style, Alpine style, that sort of cheese, because it tends to add the preferred enzymes to create the flavour for that cheese, which is really good. I only use I use two types. I use the microbial rennet and the FPC, the fermentation process chymosin, FPC rennet. Chimax Plus from CHR Hansen seems to do the job. It's got a nice high IMC, single strength rennet, works very well. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Gladys. Kevin says, how can I add something to my order that is out of stock, but you get to hold off on shipping until it is all in stock? Kevin, just shoot us an email with what you're after, and we can do something tricky with the website to do that for you. So shoot us an email after the show. I think you've got it. If not, just go to the About tab of the YouTube channel or go to littlegreencheese.com and just shoot me a message on the contact page there. I think Kim's already sorted that out anyway. Aga says, vegetable rennet is made with a G-modded yeast. Animal rennet comes from animal stomach. Yeah, done that. Thanks, mate. Leonardo says, I'm waiting anxiously for the stout cheddar taste test. Well, it's actually the first one on the list. So the list of all the taste tests, I've got the list here. Started to cross some of them off. Stout is number one. It's number three. After the mead, which I have to rack this weekend, and I'll show you the video on that. Gee, that goes dark, doesn't it? A cheese sleep story. I've been thinking about maybe even doing a separate channel on sleep stories because apparently my voice is very calming and sleepy. Anyway, we'll move along. Kevin says, more about rennet. That's okay. Thanks, Kevin. Livestock says, have I ever tried Cavados or Cognac Camembert? You can make it by brushing the alcohol on one side and edge and flip it over the next day and brush it over again for a week in the cheese cave. Hopefully that's before the mold starts developing, livestock. That would be the best situation, I would think. Otherwise, the white wine mold won't grow. Probably the alcohol may even kill it off. Okay, so that's a good idea. I'm pretty good at camemberts now. In fact, newsflash, the stabilised paste camembert, haven't done an official taste test filmed, videoed. However, because I had 4 of them, I said to Kim, hey, why don't we have a treat and crack open one of these stabilised paste camemberts. And would you believe it's one of the best camemberts I've ever made. Just outstanding flavour, a little bit too salty. So if you haven't made it already, and I'm going to do a video update, I'm just going to do a pure video about the saltiness of it. It's a little bit too salty. I would hold back probably about an hour, maybe 2, on the brining. I wouldn't brine it as long. It was just a little bit too salty. Had that salty aftertaste that you get with, fairly highly salted foods. But I tell you what, the paste, the flavour, it smelt mushroomy. It was just divine. And by the time it had got to room temperature, it wasn't runny. It was, when you squish a store-bought camembert and you get that paste comes out in a bulge, that was what it was like. It was perfect like that. So anyway, that newsflash. So you will see that in the stabilised paste Comembert taste test, which will be coming out soon. I'm going to be trying another one of those this weekend, and we'll check it out. Okay, Mokhtar, I think that's how you say it. Can cheese be made without rennet? Lactic fermentation be aged? Can cheese made without rennet be aged? Can it be aged? Yes, it can. So a good example would be ricotta salata. So ricotta salata is made using that's acid set curd. But you can definitely, if you've got enough whey and you make enough ricotta out of it, you can press that ricotta, heavily salt it, and it turns into a nice aged cheese. I made one from raw sheep's milk whey, and it turned out very, very well. There's a video on it. And Kim, if you can find the video for that, the ricotta salata from ewe's milk, then pop that up. That would be fantastic. All right, so Darag, I think that's how you pronounce it. Ahoy there, Gavin. Loving the curd vibe in the UK. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. George says, Gav, have made butter. Why not make a yogurt series? You can explore the nuances of Greek, regular, and homemade cultures. I could do a yogurt series. I've got a lot of videos to do, but we'll put that on the list. But as you know, if it goes on the list, it doesn't always make it to the channel. But I take your suggestion on board. Thanks so much. George. John says, whey and buttermilk pancakes or whey and sourdough bread. Definitely. There are so many ways to use whey, John. It's not funny. I'm discovering that 10 ways for whey may be too little of a video. We may have to go larger because I think I've already got 7 already. I haven't even tried. And that's just from stuff I've done myself. So, like ricotta and my sauce and putting in stews, making smoothies, and pancakes and stuff like that. So simple, but it's a great little, pardon me, it's a great little byproduct to use. It really is. I was going to take a sip of coffee. Right, there we go. All right, Tony. G'day, Tony. Just starting the journey into cheese making. I've been making kefir for several months. Finding your channel incredibly useful. Thanks very much, mate. Appreciate it. Ben says, do you age any cheeses in cloth? I did, Ben. In fact, there's a video, and Kim's going to have to, she's going to be cursing me in a minute to go find all these links. If you can find the link to the traditional cheddar honey that I cloth banded. However, in that video, I used coconut oil, so don't use coconut oil. It tends to, it doesn't tend to do anything. It did make the cheese go a little bit soft because some blue mold got through the barrier. It's better to use lard if you're going to use lard, which is pig fat, which they traditionally use, or butter is another one. Butter is a really good sealant for the cloth. So use those two. Jay says I'm with you on that. Nice. Jim. G'day, Jim. How are you? Where are we, Jim? Where'd you go? I've lost you in the chat. Every time I scroll, it goes back up instead of down. Jim says, G'day, mighty nerd. I trust you and the wife and child are doing as well as could be expected. That's Kim and Ben. Yes, we are all doing okay. Thank you very much, Jim. Kevin, I'm finding, says that, I'll start again. Kevin P says, I am finding that the best mesophilic cultures to use is Aroma B or Flora Danica for all semi-hard cheeses. What are your thoughts? It depends on the flavour that you like, Kevin. Remembering that in Flora Danica or Aroma B, which is nearly the same thing, it tends to have a culture within it, which I can't remember the name. I would have to go searching. I don't want to do that. That gives it's a diacetyl, which gives a buttery feel to the cheese. So things like Havarti and all the semi-soft cheeses like Gouda and Edam, that style of cheese, if you use Floradanica, not only do you get eye formation, because Floradanica is a gas-producing culture as well, or culture blend, it also has a diacetyl effects, which gives you a buttery flavour. So if you're after that sort of flavour of cheeses, then go for it. However, if you're after, certainly wouldn't do it with cheddars and stuff like that, because the flavour profile will be totally shot. It wouldn't be what you expect. If you hand, one of your cheddars that are used using Floradanica to somebody who's normally used to a sharp, bitey sort of cheddar, you're not going to get the same flavour. But it is nice to use that for to mix up the cultures a little bit. Okay. Tony says, one very basic question. My first cheddar batch pressed today is very bland. Is that normal, or is my bacterial culture not working? If you've only just pressed it today, it will be indeed very bland. All of the curds are bland. That's aging is the key to making your cheese taste like cheese. It's the enzymic action. There's a big word. I just learned it from John. Enzymic action that produces the flavors. The enzymes that are left over from the dead lactic bacteria, the enzymes that are left over from the rennet, and whatever natural enzymes are in the milk break down the fats and proteins, breaking down the fats via lipolysis and breaking down the proteins by proteolysis. So the aging of the cheese is what gives you the flavour. The curds will just taste like curds. Every cheese, the curds taste the same at the beginning when you press them. So no big deal. It's working. Trust me. You wouldn't have got a curd set if your culture wasn't working usually, because milk needs to be slightly acidic for the rennet to work. And that's why you add the starter culture up front. There you go. Kathy says, love your stuff. You're one of the only informational channels that cuts the crap. Oh, thanks, Kathy. I tend to be upfront and normal and don't have all that waffling and stuff. Anyway, thanks, Kathy. Appreciate it. That made my day. Okay, let's get back to it. Kevin says, microfiltering is not the same as UHT. Indeed, that's correct. UHT means ultra high temperature. Indeed it does, Kevin. John says, I need to win the lottery and start a cold press facility here in the US, and there will be a massive economic boom for all dairy and cheese. I believe you're right, John, because the milk is just amazing. That's if they can get it through the, US Food Administration. Whoever waves the magic wand and says the milk's fit for human consumption. Mark my words, they did have to go through a lot of hoops and red tape to get the cold pressed milk on the market. It was rigorously tested by the food authorities here in Australia to ensure that the bacterial counts, the bad bacterial counts, were very low before they released it to the public. So yeah, it depends on the regulations, I suppose. Just one point. The milk that is the cold pressed milk is Jersey milk. They said they get it from a single herd of about 200 cows. So I don't know how they're keeping up with demand. I think they've got more than one dairy now. But Jersey milk, it was 5.1% fat, so very high in fat, made an excellent cheese. Anyway, Patricia says, I bought some nice bee linens washed rind in Quebec last week. I was wondering if I could use a bit of rind in place of bee linens in my own cheese to make raclette, for example. Yes, I think that bee linens is one of those sorts of molds, ripening molds, that will literally migrate anywhere it wants to if the conditions are right. So you could put a piece of the rind or just scrape some of the it's red mold off of your cheese, some of the rind, put it into milk, and I'm pretty sure it will work. I've actually seen somebody do it before on a video, but I can't find the video. I haven't done it. But yeah, I think it'll work. Exactly the same sort of process as using Penicillium roque 40. So blue mold, blue-green mold, same sort of thing. You can migrate that from milk to milk. So it's only the molds you can really do that with. You can't do it with cultures or anything like that. Don't put a chunk of cheese in your milk and expect it to culture. Those cultures in that mature cheese are long dead, whereas the molds tend to hang around for a long, long time. Okay, thanks, Kim, for popping up that link. Wilma Charlie says, what's a good melty cheese to make, avoiding the American cheese, which is okay, but not my favourite? Some of the best melters that I've had is the Edam, which was really good, and the Gouda, which was great as well, Gouda. Really good melting cheeses and no bitter aftertaste, really nice. And of course, a good cheese to fry without melting is halloumi, which is a Cypriot cheese. And I've got a couple of videos on halloumi as well, so they're really good. So, Wilma Charlie, go and check out in the back catalogue. Just go to the channel page, and there's a search function there. Search for Edam or Gouda, and they are some of the best melting cheeses around without having to worry about adding sodium citrate in there. Jay says, no staff. You got to love it. Good job. Thanks, mate. Kevin says, Swiss cheeses are so made out of raw milk, at least the something invented in Switzerland. Yeah, most Swiss cheeses are made of raw milk as well. A lot of the Italian cheeses are as well as the French ones. So Europe has a better tolerance for raw milk use than certainly what Australia and the US do. I think we've gone way over the top. Anyway, Kevin saying thank you to Patricia for that box. Cool. George says, Gav, you were asked about a Brazilian recipe for cheese. Can we expect a video soon? I think that was, what was it called? Queso Minas. I think that was it. I do have the recipe. Can't expect it soon because of the backlog of recipes that I've got. But it's on the list of things to do. George, sorry, mate. Kevin says, cute dog. Yes, there is a cute dog. Hang on, we'll go to dog cam. Where are we? There we go. Holly, 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 where are you? She doesn't want to move. Her head's down there. There's a head. Anyway, she's one of the 2 cheese dogs that we have that like cheese. Trent says, may I ask why you stopped posting on the blog channels? I love those videos. The blog channel, I think you're referring to the Gavin Weber vlog channel. Mate, I'm so flat out with the cheese channel, I rarely get time to do any vlog videos. Trying to get on with my normal life, I suppose. But yeah, I just haven't got around to it. It's just plain simple truth. Running a small business, I'm not am I a full-time YouTuber? Do I make a living out of YouTube? Yes, I do. But I don't sit here and just do videos day in, day out. We have a small business, so all the cheese-making supplies that people order from us all over the world, somebody's got to ship them, as well as the other products we have on our site, which are the. In fact, let's go to desktop number 2, just so people can understand. This is our business, Little Green Workshops. Kim and I run this when we're not making cheese videos for you guys. So I sell cheese-making supplies. We've got candle-making supplies, bath and body, soap-making supplies, and brewing supplies. And there's some fermenting and what else we got in there? Yogurt making, fermenting, and there's some foodie kits and stuff as well. But that's our full-time job. That's what we do. So people order via our e-commerce store, and we ship out the orders as quick as we can. So within 2 days usually, and we send stuff all over the world. The cheese stuff anyway. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. So that's why I don't blog on the blog channels. Anyway, Kevin says, hey Kim, looking for the cheese wrap for the Camembert. Can that be cut into 4 pieces that can be cut into 4 pieces like Gavin did. Not sure what Gavin used, Kevin. He will show us when he reads your question. Yeah, it's the large cheese wrap, Kevin. Yes, it is out of stock. Yes, I'm putting an order in today because we've got a few things that are out of stock with our manufacturer. So I will be placing an order. So just hold off. It shouldn't be more than a week. Usually takes to come from where they're located. So okay. Craig says, can't stay. Unfortunately, grafting season makes me busy. Having a great show. Have a great show, and thanks for the fantastic show. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it, mate. And you are a champion grafter too, by the way. Grafting means he does fruit trees. So fruit tree grafting is one of Craig's not hobbies, I suppose. It's nearly a profession. But he is the font of all knowledge as far as fruit tree grafting goes. So if you want to check out Craig, go and check his channel. I think he's got some grafting videos there and some recent TV appearances he did on Vasily's Garden, which is a gardening show here in Australia with this great Greek guy, of Greek ancestry, Vasily. And he's very cool. Anyway, I've been on the show too, by the way. Go to my vlog channel and you'll see my episode of Vasily's Garden. Very cool. Thanks for the link, Kim. Dog says, no, you do it once the cheese is ready to eat. We used to do that for Christmas from store-bought. Cavallaros Camembert is a French Normandy special cheese, sometimes crumbled to replace the right one. Oh, okay. Thanks for clearing that up, Livestock. That's made more sense now. But yeah, I do it for a week. That'd be pretty cool, actually. So I've got, like I said, I've got some camemberts. Maybe I'll go get some. What was it? French brandy, French something. I'll have to look. I'll look through after the show. I'll go and check it out. Okay. Patricia says, "Hey, Curd nerds, click that thumbs up under Gavin's chin. If you love this live stream, thank you, Patricia. I appreciate it." You'll notice, and you can see on my little counter over there that I've reached 150,000 subscribers, which is a bit of an achievement. I never thought I would see my cheese channel make it that far. Certainly, way back when I started taking it seriously around... when did I start taking it seriously? It was, I think it was 2016. I was going to a YouTube creators lab in Melbourne where they taught us how to YouTube, I suppose is. So they were looking for creators around 10,000 subscribers. Now I was at about 8,500 at the time. I threw my hat in the ring, and guess what? They accepted me to the lab. And they taught us how to YouTube, so that was pretty cool. Don't make it go down. Stop unsubscribing, whoever's doing that. I started doing cheese videos more than one every 6 months, and kind of stuck to a schedule. And Kim supports me wholeheartedly in running the channel. It's just great fun. I really love it. And so we went from 10,000 to 150,000 in 3 years? Not bad, I reckon. So love it, really do. Anyway, thanks for supporting me and subscribing. If you haven't already subscribed and you're watching this, go and click the subscribe button, and you'll get notifications of all sorts of cheesy videos. Anyway, back to the questions. Shadow Lake Ranch says, "Hey, from Texas." Shadow Lake Ranch. That rings a bell. That sounds like somebody we shipped an order to this week. Anyway, I'll move along. Hey, from Texas, can you use goat's milk to make any cheeses just like cow's milk, or is there a major difference? There's a little bit of difference in the milk. The milk itself is a little bit weaker when it sets a curd, so you'll use a little bit more rennet. But if you're using your raw goat's milk, probably not so much. You can use all the recipes that I've used for cow's milk. That's cool. Make sure you add calcium chloride. It helps with the curd set. And if you're using raw goat's milk, you won't have any trouble at all. So there'll be no issues. So, yeah, go for it. You'll find the taste will be a little bit different because goat's milk naturally has a higher level of lipase in it, which causes a piquant flavour or spicy flavour like Parmesan or Romano, that sort of cheese, um, within it. So, anyway, Rest 11 says, I'm confused when it comes to reading milk and cream fat content. Can you quickly explain how to figure out the fat percentage? Thanks for your knowledge and willing to share. Yeah, fairly easy. I don't have a carton of milk with me, which is unusual because I carry one around everywhere. What you do in Australia is pretty easy because what they do, they have on the specifications on the back of the milk, they actually have the fat content per 100 grams or 100 milliliters. Either or, milk's about the same weight as water. So you can work out the fat percentage pretty easy. So if it says 5.1 grams per 100 mils or 100 grams, then it's 5.1%. Pretty easy. I don't know how they do it in the US, but here in Australia, that's a standard. So it's very easy to figure it out. Unfortunately, I don't have any more science than that. So, yeah, they make it easy here for us in Australia. I'm sorry. Okay, moving right along. I've just lost my place again. I must have missed a lot of stuff here. I don't remember reading this. Trent Corner says, can you bring back tasting cheese a day like you did last year? It was actually this year. It was in February, the whole month of February this year. Unfortunately not. The YouTube gods didn't like it, if that makes sense. It threw my channel, the viewership went down a lot. And I did a whole bunch of stats in the last video, the wrap-up video for that. I won't be doing a cheese a day challenge. A video a day doesn't work for my cheese channel, the format, unfortunately. Anyway, so sorry about that. Where is it? Right. George says, I've been watching an Italian guy mixing milk with a bit of Gorgonzola. Still waiting for the video. Is that a hint? My Gorgonzola video. It seems that the blue mold acidifies the milk and separates it. Have you heard of this? What is it? What is that name? No, I haven't. I haven't heard of it at all. Unless you're talking about the penicillium. It's not glaucoma. That's an eye disease. Can't remember. I'm not searching right now. Yeah, the blue mold for Gorgonzola is different than Penicillium roqueforti. But I don't think it's that strong that it acidifies the milk and separates. So that sounds a bit strange. I'll have to have a look on YouTube. Aga says, looks like Made by Cow are groundbreakers and developing their own process to do HPP, which explains why it's so expensive at the moment. Costs a lot to do that research and get approvals. Indeed it does, Aga. But the good thing is it's available not at the big supermarket chains. We've got an independent grocer here in town, and it works really well. And I can get the milk. Cool. We've got a super chat from Trent. Hang on, let me just. Well, the light blinding. Anyway, thank you, Trent, for your super chat. It didn't come up on the top bar. It says thanks for all you do. Thank you very much, Trent. I appreciate it. Thank you for your kind $3.99 super chat. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Yep. Back here. Trent says, Kim, you are Gavin. You and Gavin do a wonderful job. Thanks, Trent. Dibs says, whey makes the best gravy. Oh, I've got to try that. We have some gravy powder or gravy granules that, what I normally do is when we're making a roast dinner, I steam the vegetables in a steamer. They taste much better. I find they do anyway. Not the roast potatoes, they're roasted. But the steamed vegetables, I use the water from the steamed vegetables to make the gravy, and that tastes fairly nice. I hadn't thought about using whey to make gravy. I will do that. That is very cool. Thanks, Dibs. Appreciate it. Steve Stevens says, have you ever thought about making Reaper cheddar? Mate, my triple pepper jack was as hot as I ever want to make a cheddar again. Really don't want to make it any hotter. Thanks very much. Jim says, Gavin, just notice you've rearranged your set a bit. You've moved your subscriber down the front of your flashy Curd Nerds sign and zoomed in on your mug so we can't see the pup real well. Yeah, she's not down there. You can see her. There she is. Holly. No, doesn't care. Doesn't care anymore. Okay, but I love the change. Thank you very much, Jim. Kim, that's what we did on Saturday instead of the show. I had to put the bloody furniture together. Pain in the bum, but did it, and it looks nice, and Kim's dressed it all up for me, and makes it look like a proper YouTuber set. Anyway. Oh, goodness me. George says you can make a delicious version of bechamel sauce with whey instead of milk. Oh, that sounds nice too. My goodness. Ben says, I use whey left over from soft cheese in a few ferments. Horseradish is great. Pretty cool. Maddie G says, I can use the milk Can I use the milk that I buy from a UK supermarket like Sainsbury's milk to make cheese? Or does it have to be specialty? Thanks. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be specialty at all. When I first started out, I made cheese with pasteurised and homogenised milk. As long as it's not ultra-pasteurised or UHT milk, it should be fine. I think a lot of UK supermarkets don't do too much damage to their milk. So, yeah, just make sure that you add calcium chloride, which is just a mineral salt, and you add it to the milk before the rennet. Adds back some soluble calcium to the milk so it sets a better curd. So go for it. Higher fat content, the better. Usually the milk in supermarkets is standardized down to about 3.1 to 3.5% fat. So you want a higher fat milk if you can get it. Jersey milk is fantastic. Kim? No? Somebody? Okay. I thought I heard Kim whistling in the background. Shadow Lake Ranch said, I just made my second batch of feta and it turned out wonderful. My question is, can you use goat's milk instead of cow's milk with any recipe? Yes. Yes, you can. John says, Wilma, any of the Mexican fresh queso frescos make very easy melting cheeses. Indeed they do. What time is it? We got 22 minutes past. All good. Tony says, thanks for the reply. I was hoping that aging would be the answer. You are an amazing resource. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Herman says, what do you know about government cheese? Yes. Were you calling me? No. Who was whistling? I was trying to get Holly to move, but then I realised it was time today. Kim just came to the door and said she was trying to get Holly to move and she forgot it was time delayed by 20 seconds. So it just doesn't matter. Anyway, I thought Kim was whistling at me. Doesn't matter. Okay. Government cheese, Herman. I've heard this a few times, but no idea what it means. You might get a few answers in the chat, but government cheese is basically it was a form of processed cheese that they used during World War II in the US, I think, if I remember rightly. So go and have a look at my American cheese video, similar to that, but a lot more bits to it. Mine's fairly, I've added sodium citrate to make it melt better and combine stray bits of cheese that I had in the fridge, normal kitchen fridge that I wasn't using, to turn it into a melty cheese. It was very good. John said, I'd rather have Gavin cutting the cheese, a cheese wheel versus gassing off, versus cutting any crap. Thanks, John. You're talking about FDA. I'm like half an hour behind. My goodness. John says, the biggest issue here is a continental bovine leukemia virus pandemic, and that is the real reason why they don't want public raw milk consumption for a human leukemia pandemic. Okay. Thanks, John. George says, I use kombucha to make vinegar. You always recommend washing hands and pots with vinegar to avoid bugs, but could the kombucha SCOBY affect negatively my cheeses? Not that I know of. I know the SCOBY stands for symbiotic culture of something biological organisms or something like that. It's the little, it looks like jelly and it sits in your kombucha or vinegar. If you've ever seen vinegar that's been sitting in the cupboard for ages, especially apple cider vinegar, you get this slimy thing on top. That's called the mother of vinegar or the SCOBY. Um, so, no, it won't. The vinegarous acid is what is helping neutralize the any of the yeasts and bacteria that live on your kitchen benches, and that's what I use, wash my hands and stuff with that. No issue. Your SCOBY won't affect it at all. Okay. Steve says, hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Mate, you're most welcome. John says, too bad we can't graft cheeses and grow a big cheese wheel like mushrooms. Very cool. Siraj says, hello, Mr. Gavin. Lots of love hearts. Thank you, Siraj. Kim's deleting people's messages. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what Holly said, John. Brian says, using fresh raw goat's milk, working on paneer, it's turning out too crumbly. Google searches say I'm adding acid too soon. I'm adding it at the first signs of the boil. Do I need to wait for a full-on boil? No, that's when I add it. Maybe use a little less acid, Brian, and I think you'll be fine. I tend to add a little bit at a time when I'm making paneer, so that's why I teach my students anyway. Add a little bit at a time of lemon juice, and I only use lemon juice for paneer. I don't use vinegar or anything like that because I find the taste is a lot better. So lemon juice, and I actually add yogurt as well to the milk. When I make paneer, it actually gives it a better flavour, and that was a tip from an Indian friend of mine who got the recipe from her nana and told me to add yogurt and lemon juice. I went, okay, who might argue? Turned out to be the best paneer ever. Doesn't crumble. It presses together, holds together very, very well. So, yeah, just add a little bit of lemon juice at a time until you get the curdle, and then stop, and then it's all good. Shadow Lake Ranch, my first order from your workshop is on its way, thank you. Excellent. Just now wondering if you can use goat's milk in place of cow's milk in your recipe. I think I answered that. I'm a bit slow. Sorry. Yes. Yes, you can. Kevin says, Kim or Gav, do you have any vids on soap making? I would like to try. Kim's just put the link to our soap making channel where we have some soap making videos there. Wilma Charlie says, do you have a video on making your cheese press? No, I don't have any videos on how to put it together. There are instructions in the thing. It's fairly self-explanatory. Maybe I should break one out of the box and put it together, and that would help, I think, too. That's a good idea. Thank you, Wilma Charlie. I'll figure that out. In fact, I might just take apart one of the ones I've got. Cheese press construction, I think. Right. Good. On the pad. Okay. Jay says 150k. Yay. Thank you very much, George. No, it's George, not Jay. Dib says, to be continued, could I let it sour with the natural bacteria in the milk? Yep, and that would be called clabber, is what you'll get. Kristen says, hi, Gavin. Have you ever tried white truffle? Molitano. No, if I can't pronounce it, I obviously haven't eaten it. But no, I haven't tried any truffle cheese at all. Sounds very interesting. Thanks, Kristen. I'll check that out, though. Patricia says, yay, 150k. Thank you, Patricia. George, as I understand, every milk has the mesophilic culture in it, and that's what spoils the milk or something. Indeed, George, it is. Natural raw milk has the lactic bacteria native in the milk, as well as some molds and stuff as well. But yeah, and I've been told, well, from the manufacturer anyway, that the Danisco MA 4001 is the closest you can get to the cultures that are natively in raw milk. So I don't know how true that is, but it certainly makes a wicked cheese, I tell you. Anyway, Zaid says, how would you rate your Gruyere cheese and what did go wrong during the making? What would you change if you had a chance? Are you going to make it? And I want to perfect this one. I think in the taste test video I mentioned all that. Zaid, go and check that out. In fact, Kim, if you could put the link up to the Gruyere taste video where I talk about, all the stuff that went wrong or didn't go wrong. Okay. Kim's given me the wrap up, so I should finish the show. Sorry if you've left questions that I haven't answered, but that's the nature of the show. Unfortunately, I don't get to all of them. Anyway, cool. Gee, it is past. I've been waffling on for ages. Don't forget that you can visit our shop, littlegreenworkshops.com.au, over to the cheesy section. So you can go and check that out. There we are. There's my cheese section at Little Green Workshops. Thanks, honey. I'm doing that now. You're delayed. Yep, so there's all the good gear that you can order, and we ship all over the world. So that's very cool. And don't forget to, if you want to support the show financially, you can hit the join button below, YouTube join button. And while you're there, joining, don't forget to subscribe, of course. And you get, and same as Patreon, there's a link below in the video to support the show financially. And you get cool perks like early access to all the video tutorials. So that's pretty cool. Okay. And don't forget you can get merch like this one, Certified Curd Nerd Cup, over at Teespring. There should be a merch shelf down below under the video as well. So go and check that out. And that's about it, I think. And we need to wrap up the show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate all your questions. Without your questions, there wouldn't be a show, of course. So thanks for turning up week on week. We'll be here Saturday, definitely this week. Won't be dressing up the studio or anything like that. But, yeah. Thanks very much, everybody, for your time and your patience as I answer your questions the best I can. All right, thanks, Curd Nerds, and we'll see you on Saturday.